Welcome back to my new channel where me and Jamie are going to be doing vlogs and talking about a lot of things in parenting. This is my birth story. Now I had a 54-hour labour. I'm going to try and make it as short as possible because the last time I recorded it was about half an hour. So let's jump right into it. So I was in pre-labour around 8 in the morning. Well, not like when you start to go into labour, when things like start happening, but you're not in the transitioning period yet. So I started getting contractions around 8 o'clock in the morning. I remember because I was on my phone, and they weren't painful, but they were consistent. Now I had a lot of Braxton Hicks, and the Braxton Hicks that I'd had were more painful than these contractions, so I didn't really think too much of it, but I liked the fact that they were consistent. Then around 6 in the evening, from that point, because it was around, in fact no, it was around maybe 12 in the afternoon, it just like lunchtime, things kind of started to get inconsistent, and I was kind of worried and stressing because it was consistent for a good couple of hours until lunchtime, and then it was really inconsistent. Then till around 6 p.m. it was starting to get painful, but it was still really inconsistent. And then around 11 p.m. on the night is when it started to kick in a little bit more, and that night is when we did the sleep a lot because I was in so much pain. I couldn't get comfortable, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I think around 3 in the morning till around 6 that same morning we got about 3 hours sleep, but apart from that, the rest of it we were completely awake. Then that day my mum came over, even though it was in the pandemic. It turns out we didn't have COVID because we got tested when we got to the hospital, but I'll get back to that. She had to come over because I was in so much pain. I had no help, no support, no nothing, and I was just in that state where like everything drains from you, and I was like in like what's it called? I was in a dressing gown and I was sweating and I couldn't sit up to do my hair. I couldn't do anything because I was just in so much pain constantly. I started to transition around 11 p.m. the previous night, but I was in the transition period for 24 hours and my water didn't break because I got a lot of back labour, which was really painful, as you can imagine. So from 11 p.m. that evening, then the daytime my mum came over, helped wipe my face, put my hair back, put a t-shirt on me, but she told me to wait until my waters broke, which is what I did, but they didn't break. And then it was 11 p.m. that night, so 24 hours later, where I had like a little bit of a leakage, but I thought it was my waters. It wasn't. It was like the same amount as discharge, but it had like a tiny ounce of tinge to it, and I thought, okay, this is a sign, go to the hospital. So got an Uber to the hospital around maybe, I want to say 12:30, 1 o'clock. We actually got to the hospital, and we got there obviously with the bags and everything. Jamie had to wait outside. Luckily he already technically had a seat, because if you check out our TikTok, I'll put the name here now, Bridgman's of TikTok. Jamie has cerebral palsy, so spastic diplegia, so he can't straighten his legs or walk at all because he can't straighten his legs, so he's in a wheelchair, so he already had a seat. I apologise if I sound really depressing right now. I was a lot funnier in the other videos, but as you know, it's late, I'm tired, but like I've had like no other time to like record this video, so I thought I might as well just get it done in one video. So okay, so we're at the hospital. It's around 1:30 in the morning. They wheel me into the hospital, right, and put me in a waiting area. I was in full transition, proper contractions, to the point where like I can't talk, I can't do anything. I'm having to hold my breath because there's a bunch of women that are sitting in there with different checkups or whatever, and they're all staring at me like I'm some alien, and it felt absolutely horrible. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience, but like I had to sit there and wait there for half an hour until someone came and checked me, when I was like, look, I'm in labour. But because I'd gone in so many times because of the Braxtons, I didn't know whether I was in labour or not. Like about maybe 3 times I'd gone in the last month. That's probably why it took a while, but it was still like, went in there and then she checked me and she was like, oh, I can feel the baby's head. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, get admitted. And then it was around maybe 3 in the morning where I actually got a room, and I'll put the footage and stuff now in like where the room and talking and everything that we did when we got there. I don't know why I said that weirdly, but yeah. Update, I've been using gas and air just before contractions to deal with contractions. I'm just not feeling it, to be honest.
Would you be really mad if like I took a nap as you were crowning?
Kind of, yeah. But no, I've opted for an epidural, so hopefully that should take all the pain that I've been having for the past 3 days away.
I have one and all.
What for? You won't even take the gas and air?
No, because like you've got to breathe on it and I've got to, you know,
only before I'm getting contractions.
pandemic. Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah, that's the good stuff. I remember that now. Oh, that's a sweet drain.
So this is the room I'm in. They're knackered.
Send coffee, please. Anyone.
So yeah, after we got admitted, we were thinking, what do I want to do now? Originally I wanted to do like a water birth and everything, but I think because of the amount of COVID patients, those rooms were given to the people who had COVID. They had like the separate rooms, and those were the ones that had the pools to do water birthing, which is kind of odd because COVID like spreads through water. I don't know. I got really confused. I was told it was something to do with COVID patients, but I didn't get offered it. They were basically like, because you've been in labour for so long, that do you want an epidural? And I was thinking for a while. I was like, I don't really know, because I don't really want to go and wait for an hour to see if like I'd transition a little bit more. But like I'd go to the toilet, but I'd like drop to the floor and scream from a contraction. It was so painful. Not scream, it would just be like, you know, when you moan when you have a contraction, it'd be like louder than usual, like one of them when you're starting to get into it. But like I'd drop to the floor in the bathroom and like be in the zone. It's really weird. And then Jamie would be like in the other room, be like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just having a contraction. So yeah, then maybe between 4 and 6 in the morning is when I decided to actually get an epidural. I'll put the video up now from when I actually decided. Hello.
Hi.
Right, so say hi, Jamie.
Hello.
He's down there because there's a wheelchair on the other side of the room. And there's no chair over here. I won't get into it, it's long. Don't want to ramble. Anyway, so I just got to the point where I just got my epidural. We decided to get the epidural because I was in like so much pain. Because I had really bad back labour, and shout out to Abby and Julia and their amazing son Harbour, who's now 6 months old. She had the same thing, basically, where if you get really bad back labour, it will stop you dilating. So like she went through the same thing where she got to, I think it was either 3 or 4 centimetres, the same as me, and then it was like 3 days basically where like she wasn't progressing naturally. She was trying everything, bouncing on the ball, having a bath, and like nothing was working. At the point actually, before I went to the hospital, I forgot to mention, I did actually go into the bath on the 22nd before we went to the hospital. That was the only time I could actually like breathe through my contractions properly when I was in the bath. The water really did help, which is why I wanted a water birth in the first place. I wanted to do it all natural, but that didn't happen. Anyway, so I get the epidural. I had gas and air before the epidural, so they like put a needle in your back, and then they put the catheter in, and then they say, oh, if it's gone incorrectly, it'll make like a pain through one of your legs or a weird feeling through one of your legs, and
that's comforting, isn't it?
Yeah. For someone who is really funny about pressures, like I really freak out when it comes to like different, like having like a blood pressure machine on my arm, like I absolutely hate it. And when I'd gone in for one of my checkups to see like whether I was in labour or not because I had a scare, this obviously she was not very old and she was one of the new midwives, or she was just a young midwife, or she was just not a very good midwife.
A pain in the butt.
Yeah. She put a blood pressure machine on me and left the room. Just left me in there. Went out and did her business. I freaked out that much. I took everything off me. Went to the toilet, got my bag, and I was like, I want to go home. She was like, are you sure? Are you sure? I was like, if I'm not in labour, I want to go home. I did not like it. And the funny thing was, when we got admitted into the room, do you remember? She went past our room, and I looked at her and I thought, yeah.
I remember you telling me.
I was just like, yeah, I am admitted now and I'm being treated.
I was outside for quite a few hours freezing my butt off, so I was glad when she came out.
Yeah.
Because of lockdown and everything, my entire sort of hospital experience with Molly was just like sitting outside a hospital at stupid o'clock at night, freezing my bum off because I couldn't actually go inside.
Yeah, because unless you are like in labour and they'd say that you are, like if you're 4 centimetres or more, then like you're in active labour, that's what they say. But unless you're in active labour and you've dilated, then they can't actually come in with you for any checkups or anything during the pandemic. I don't know what it's like now. Comment down below if you've recently had a baby and it's changed, but I don't know what it's like, so. Anyways, so then they basically put the cannula in me first, didn't they? Before the epidural.
Yes.
I keep getting, it's all mush in my brain. Mum brain, baby brain is still a thing. So I had the gas in air, then I decided to get the epidural. So I got the cannula put in my left arm. That freaked me out, that hurt. And you were like, oh, you'll forget it's there. And I was like, no, I won't. And then I did forget it was there. I actually had it in for 3 days. Then they put the epidural in me. I got a weird electric shock down my right leg. Screamed bloody murder. That was the worst part of it, actually. So if you're autistic or you're weird with pressures, I wouldn't advise getting an epidural.
Or at least brace yourself.
Yeah, brace yourself. It only lasts for about 45 seconds, I'm going to guess, from my brain. But once that pain is gone, it's like, oh my god, relief. Like, I didn't expect to be able to like lie back either, like because it was in my back. I didn't realise that it was like flat. I thought it'd be like sticking out, but no. And then I lied down, and then the pain was like gone quite quickly. You have this little button that you can press so you can get more of the liquid gold in your system. And it's really cold as well. That was a weird thing about it. Like you press a button and cold liquid goes down your spine. Oh, I get weird feeling just talking about it. Weird memories. So then after that they were basically like, they put the catheter in me, so like, because obviously you can't go to the toilet when you've got an epidural in, you just get to lie there basically. Then they put a blood pressure machine on me, but it would only go off once every half an hour.
Well, they changed it. They started. It was just so they could like continually monitor you. So they had the blood pressure thing on you, but then they had the strappy things around your belly.
So they had
could check bellies as well.
That was her heart rate they were checking as well.
And they started at one time, and then it either got.
And it was tracking my contractions as well.
And then like the time was either widened or shortened. I can't remember which way around, to just constantly check it to make sure you're alright.
And then once they'd put everything in place, they were like, yeah, you can go to sleep for another 4 hours. And we were like, yay.
Well, you did.
Yeah, I did. He didn't. You just sat on your phone, didn't you?
I still say I had the worst part of labour.
Because you had no painkillers. You had nowhere to ease your tiredness. Anyway.
Just because you're about to push a baby out.
I know, yeah.
God.
Don't come for him, honestly.
No, I am nice, I promise.
Yeah. So they checked me, and then I was 6 centimetres, but my water still hadn't broken, so they had to break it for me. And then
That was cool.
Yeah, and it was all green. That's when we found out she was a meconium baby. It was funny because when we were talking about when we thought that my waters had broken when we were at home, and it was like the tiniest amount of fluid, and then you were like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, and we thought that was your waters. That was quite funny.
Oh god! And I started to worry a bit because it was like, "Oh my god, is she going to be okay? Is she going to die in her own feces? Like what the hell?" But she was fine. She was calm. There was no distress of that child in this labour whatsoever. That was the weirdest thing, because usually in these type of scenarios, baby gets in distress, woman doesn't dilate, and then you end up in an emergency C-section basically. That didn't happen. She was all chill. So then they left me for another 4 hours. Then instead of being 8 centimetres, I was already 10 centimetres. You got dizzy and had to go outside.
Yeah.
And you had to give yourself a little bit of a talking to.
I don't know whether it was a sleep deprivation or how hot it was in the room, or a combination of both. But by that point, I was on the verge of fainting. I don't actually think it was the aspect of it. That's not me trying to be masculine and going I'm not scared. But I genuinely don't think it was the fact that you were about to push. I think it was just because I hadn't slept in nearly
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
And it just came to a head where it was all the lights and all the people and the heat in the room was just, I was like, any minute now, I'm going to hit the deck. So I had to go outside and catch some fresh air and be right, this is the big bit, this is the moment. Yeah. Don't faint, don't be that person that faints. Go back in there and show them who's boss.
Yeah. So when it came to push, they weren't very encouraging on it at first. I think it was because you went outside and I said I wanted to wait a bit, but I feel like they should have encouraged me more to proper push.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Because I was pushing for 2.5 hours in total. It was a while. So this is where the interesting bit happens, right? So I was pushing. He was holding my legs up because I couldn't feel my legs very much. They felt very heavy because of the epidural. Sarah was holding one leg up, she was my midwife. He was holding the other one up. He was tracking my contractions, he was telling me when to push.
Looked like we were pitching a tent at one point.
I know. But I wasn't getting anywhere. A head was coming and then sucking back in, which was normal, but for real, because I couldn't feel anything. I genuinely couldn't feel anything. It was really difficult because I didn't wet myself during labour or during my pregnancy or anything. I got strong muscles down there, so strong that in my pregnancy I struggled to get wee out, so I also struggled to get said baby out. So then I had someone come in, the anaesthesiologist, 2 midwives, another doctor. There was 3 men in there and there were 4 women in there, so it was 7 people in total.
I was considering selling tickets at one point. Made some money off it.
So yeah, and they were on about having to cut me, and I panicked at this point because that was one thing I did not want to happen. I was determined it was not going to happen.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was on birth plans, it was on everything.
Was
no snippity snip.
I was terrified of was getting an episiotomy. But she said she was going to tell me when she was going to do it. She did not tell me when she was going to do it. I just happened to hear the snip and freaked. Didn't feel it, but I heard it. Yeah, that was not fun at all.
Now, I knew she wasn't going to tell you, because if she'd have told you, you'd have gone manic.
Yeah.
I just had to be like, it's alright, it's okay. Bigger fish to fry, it's fine, you still got to push.
Yeah. And to top it all off, they also had to get a suction cup on her head. Pulled so hard, the suction cup came off Bella's head, and she had to apply a second one to this poor child's head. Then eventually, after another 15 minutes maybe of pushing, after I was cut open and she was yanked out, her head popped out before she was actually fully born, and she cried. And me and him locked eyes, and it was an emotional moment. He cried. He doesn't like me mentioning. He did. He kind of like burst into tears. I would have, I kind of cried a little bit, but I was so focused on Holy Mother of, there's a child coming out of me. This is real. This is actually happening. It was like, what? I was just in shock, really. Then it was silent for a second, and I was like, what's going on? I'd forgotten that I'd asked them to wipe her because I was afraid that I was going to freak out from like a baby covered in blood on me, which now I look back and that's stupid, but it was a fear I had. I was fearing of rejecting my own child. I didn't. I wish that I hadn't asked it because I freaked out for a second and thought something was wrong. Then she got put onto me. Then it gets even more interesting. So as soon as she was put on me, I stopped contracting. She was screaming.
Yeah, well done you. That's one job.
Because you're supposed to continue contracting, which is supposed to help your uterus get back to shape. But I just stopped contracting. My body just shut down. So I had one nurse inside my area trying to get me to contract, another midwife on top of me pushing on my stomach trying to get me to contract. The woman who cut me stitching me back up, another midwife putting a suppository up my bum, and another midwife putting the injection in my leg, which helps the afterbirth come out so you don't have to push it out. I didn't realise until the other day after I spoke to my friend who's just had a baby what that actually is. And what they tell you, and you don't really listen to them when they're talking to you about the suppository, is it's like a painkiller, and they're like, oh yeah, there's these side effects and these side effects, and one of them may be diarrhea, and blah 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 blah. Oh my god.
When they say maybe, it should be, it's definitely diarrhea.
And because you've got no control, it just comes out, and all you can just, I never saw it, but I could just feel it coming out.
Oh.
And I think I actually cried at one point because I was so embarrassed. And my midwives had gone out the room to get something, and then Jamie was sitting next to me. Bella was in her plastic bassinet thing, while my legs were still kind of up a bit on the stirrups, and there was kind of a blanket over, but not completely. And then a random woman came in offering lunches and stuff, and I was thinking to myself, holy, please don't look in between my legs and scar yourself for life. Yes, I would love a sandwich, but it was the sheer panic of, oh my god, I've just myself, and there is a random woman that had just come into the room. I can't even go to the bathroom while he's in there, let alone some random stranger that could possibly have their mental health scarred.
Hello, would you like the meat or vegetarian soy or cake tin doo-doo? Okay, I'll be back.
But yeah, they eventually got me to start contracting again, and she sewed me up so well. No issues with me. It's actually better to get an episiotomy because when they cut you perfectly, and they sew you back up perfectly in the best case scenario. But if you tear, it's like a diag. It's not going to be a perfect tear. It's going to be like a.
She's like a sexy Frankenstein's monster.
Basically. It's actually better, and if you've got the epidural, you're not going to feel it. There's a possibility you might feel pressure, but I genuinely didn't feel it at all. I was just lucky in that, but yeah. And I think that was most of it. I was in the hospital for 3 days. just in case, because she was a meconium baby, and in case I needed a blood transfusion, which I didn't in the end. Everything was fine.
I had to go home.
Yeah, he had to go home about an hour after she was born, which was the worst thing that happened, like, after all that. Because, like, you get this instinct to, like, care for the child when they're born, and then, like, we had a lot of issues afterwards, because obviously he'd been separated from her, and then it was a weird transition back into it, because he'd been on his own in the flat for days. 3 days, 2 nights. And I was in the hospital, and he didn't know what was going on all the time, because we couldn't be, because I wasn't constantly on my phone. But yeah, we'll get into other stuff in other videos if we ever choose to. But yeah, that's basically it. It's 10 minutes shorter than the other videos, which is good, and this will probably get edited a little bit. But if you have any other questions, comment down below. Thank you for watching. And subscribe to see more videos from us and our
I might be in a few more. Might be more than just me head.
Well, yeah, it's M and J vlogs.
Is it? Am I the J? Is that me?
Yes.
Does that mean I get paid?
It's our vlogs.
Does that mean
it's our vlog channel.
Does that mean I get paid?
If we get monetised, yes.
Subscribe. Do it.
Right. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.